Hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's Gimmal education session. My name is Marcia Shields, and I'm with our customer success team. Tim, if you could go to the next slide, that would be great. Awesome. So with me today, yes, I'll be your host, but with me is Tim Butler, sales engineer. He's going to be your subject matter expert for all things Gimmal Physical today. We are so happy to have you with us again, and whether you're joining us live or watching this recording later. Today's session for Gimmal Physical will be about legal holds. So a couple housekeeping items before we get into things. The session will be about 30 minutes with leaving time at the end for any questions that you may have. And we do welcome and encourage your questions. If you look at the bottom of your Zoom bar, there's a Q&A area. We'd appreciate if you could submit any questions in there. I'll be keeping an eye on that and I'll tee those up for Tim after his demonstration. A reminder, you probably heard it, we are recording and this will be shared after the event and also posted on our Gimmal YouTube channel. And thank you, Tim. Yeah, so Gimmal All-Star program is still rolling. We got a few more weeks until the end of the year. We have 15 All-Stars so far. Great job, everybody. We got 4 sessions left for you to keep earning your points to get to the 3,000 mark. We have many on the bubble, and I believe after today's session, there'll be a lot of new All-Stars that we can announce for next time. So before we get started, everybody, I'm going to launch a quick poll that will help frame the conversation today about legal holds. So I've launched that out, and if you could all take just a second. We do have a lot of people on today's call and a lot of people still rolling in. This will be a nice meter for Tim to kick off his discussion. Tim, can you see the replies coming in on this?
I can.
Very cool. All right. Well, Tim, I'll let you take it away. I'm going to keep this open in case we got some stragglers coming in, but feel free. It looks like less than 10% are using legal holds today, so I think this would be a good topic for conversation.
All right, good. Thanks, Marcia. And yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you again for joining us here today for our short 30-minute education session about legal holds. Guys, I am in my demo application. Many of you have actually seen me use this application before, so it might look familiar to some of you. But I want to kind of start at the ground zero, if you will, here in terms of the legal hold functionality in Gimmal Physical. I'm on the legal holds tab. As most of you are aware, you can actually call this tab anything you want. So it may have been called something slightly different in your application, but it's the place where you go to enter information about holds or freezes or whatever words you like to use. Guys, like all of the data tabs in Gimmal Physical, we will actually construct this tab any way you want in terms of the number of fields and the types of fields that are available. It's really up to you either when you first come on board with your Gimmal Physical application or possibly as part of an upgrade if you want to tweak the architecture. Uh, in terms of value, guys, there's minimal value here. I mean, you catalog the holds. You can import hold data in, you can export hold data out, you can search by any of the available data elements. You can do some basic reporting, just like you can on all the tabs, based upon the raw data that's on this tab. So there's some value in that, but the real value, of course, is that after you have defined these holds, in my case, in my little demo app, I've got 5 different holds here. The real value, of course, is when you associate these holds to the records in question. Now, I'm going to oversimplify a little bit towards the end of the demo. We'll talk about some of the outlier use cases here. But generally speaking, when you have the legal holds in your application, you've defined them and they're available to you, you're going to associate those holds either to boxes or to files. To broaden the point, oh, that's all of a sudden the results just popped open. Okay, I'm seeing it. I'm going to dismiss that. Generally speaking, guys, you're going to associate the holds to what we call the trackable items, right? Those are the things that, at least in theory, you could stick a barcode label on. So usually that means boxes and or file folders. It can mean other things. Occasionally we have clients that are tracking microfilm or microfiche or other types of media or artifacts of various sorts. Really anything that moves, in theory at least, you could associate one or more holds with those items. Now, the end result, of course, and there's one exception to what I just said there, guys, about associating the trackable items. I'll save that for a little bit later. But for now, just know that you associate holds to those items that move, to those items that will eventually be destroyed. And of course, the hold is what prevents them, at least temporarily, from being destroyed or dispositioned. Now, what I've done here, guys, to try to simplify it a little bit, I've come to the Boxes tab. And as again, I think most of you are aware, you can configure this screen any way you want. I've made it very kind of holds centric. I don't think, generally speaking, you're going to set up your what we call the homepage grid like this with all this just hold information. I just wanted to simplify things here today to focus you on the topic at hand. And to that end, guys, I want to draw your attention. There are three specific data elements on these trackable items, in my case, file folders and boxes, that all in one way or another are focused on the holds functionality. So one perspective into this, guys, and we'll go through some examples here in just a moment, is what are the consequences of a record being on hold? So you're going to see here, I'm going to take of this 1,500 or so boxes I have in my demo application here. I'm going to query first of all to focus us just on those records that are on hold. A little side tip here, right? When you're searching on true false fields, like that's what the on hold field is in this application, and it would be in yours as well. By the way, your field might be called something different. I think out of the box, we actually call this hold retention. I've just changed the caption. I like the words on hold a little better. So same functionality, but when you're searching by true false fields, you can do it a number of ways. You can certainly say, hey, show me all the, in this case, boxes where on hold equal true. Just so you know, FYI, you can also use kind of the yes, no, if you prefer that instead of true false. And for those of you that have a little bit of a mathematical background or computer background, you can also use 1 and 0, kind of the binary representations of yes and no. So true is probably the most common way of searching here. So on the boxes tab, I'm saying, hey, Gimmal Physical, I want you to show me all of the boxes that are on hold. And now there are 21. You'll notice that the value here is true for all 21 rather than the 1,500 or so we had in total. Now, to expand upon that point a little bit, what are the consequences? We're going to get to these two columns momentarily here, guys, but for now, just know that whenever this on hold field is set to true, and it will look like a checkbox on your view page, for example. So you'd see a check in the on hold checkbox, which means true. What does that immediately mean? Number one, guys, it means that for any of these records that are on hold, whether you choose to do an update or a bulk update, either one of these, we will not let you delete a record that is on hold. So I actually said that completely wrong. What I meant to say was whether you do a delete or a bulk delete, we will not let you delete records that are on hold. Similarly, we will not let you expunge or bulk expunge records that are on hold. We've made the executive decision long ago, right? If something's on hold, and I think 99.9 times out of 100, it's the right decision. If it's on hold, we should not be deleting, we should not be expunging. And by the way, specific to deleting, most of you know that when you use our more formal disposition module, the end result of that is a delete. The same principle holds there as well. So whether you're going to ad hoc manually try to delete a record, or if you're doing it through our disposition module, any records on hold, we will not allow them to be deleted. Sort of related to all that, guys, now focusing on the more formal disposition module. If a record is on hold at the point in time when you initiate a disposition batch, please appreciate those records will be excluded. I like to say it this way. Any records on hold, they cannot enter into, nor can they proceed through a disposition batch, because the situation does arise sometimes that a record actually is already in a batch, but while in that batch at the last minute, it gets put on hold. It basically freezes the record right where it is. Either it's not in the batch or it gets stuck on that stage that it lived in when that hold was placed upon it. So that's the immediate big consequence of when records are on hold, you cannot delete and you cannot expunge. Now, let's come back to these three fields here. The on hold, guys, is really, and I'm going to use the word, magic, right? It's really the what we focus on primarily within the code of the software that drives the functionality I just described. These other two fields, which are text-based fields, on the whole, they are informational. They are useful when you are searching. They are useful for various types of reports, but there are some nuances to how these two operate. And to begin to show you how that works, I'm going to start here with this hold comments field. What I'm going to do here is say, hey, you know what? I'm still going to go with on hold true, but I'm going to add a second parameter. I'm going to say, hey, show me just the records on hold where there's something in the hold comments field. So let's reduce from our 21 boxes, we're now down to 4. The results, guys, really reflect what I want you to see here, and I'm going to explain a little further. I'll give you a moment just to digest what's in that hold comments field. You'll note that it's basically sort of the same comment over and over. And here's what generated this data. What you're seeing, guys, here is information that was auto-generated by our application, and we tell you why we generated it. And here's the use case, guys. We're on the boxes tab, and you can read for yourself. It's telling you, hey, you know what? We put these 4 boxes on hold because there was a file within the boxes that got put on hold. So you should be aware. Going to give you a quick little, going to come away from this and come back in just a moment. Let's jump into preferences. Let's jump over to the file folders preferences. That is because, guys, kind of an important preference here. Apply hold to the container of a folder. In my case, it is set to yes. And I think you can kind of extrapolate, guys, what's going on here. So the way that my application is set up, and I think generally speaking, I encourage all of you to set that same preference to yes, but it's your call. You certainly don't have to. We try to play it as safe as possible so that if a file is inside of a box and you put the file on hold and that preference is set to yes, we will then automatically also put the box on hold. When we do that, we change the on hold from blank to true, and then we fill in the hold comments with a little bit of explanation why this box is on hold. Now, you should be aware, guys, there's some outliers here. I'm just going to briefly mention them, and we can certainly have conversation. In fact, we invite the conversation. The different outliers I'm going to mention in the course of the demo here today, guys, are mostly stuff that we just made executive decisions on over the years. But in reality, guys, the best information comes from the practitioners, comes from the likes of you that are attending the webinar. So we're very open to hearing your opinion on how we should proceed in future versions of the software. But for now, just know if you've got that preference set to yes, these boxes get put on hold. What you should also know, however, is let's take a couple examples here. Let's say there was a file not in a box. It was either on a shelf or checked out to a person, or maybe it was in a different box altogether, or it had never been in a box. It was sitting in a central file room, and you put that file on hold. If you then transfer that on hold file into a box, in that scenario, we do not put the box on hold. Or it could be a situation where the file actually usually lives in that box, which means its home location is the box, but it might be checked out to a person. And let's say you put it on hold while it's checked out to a person. When you put it back into the box, we do not put the box on hold. It pretty much resolves to you guys. We will only kind of push that hold to the box if you put the file on hold while it is in the box. So I know very nuanced, but I want you to be aware of when we autofill this hold comments field. Now, let's come back here, go with true. Do the similar thing here with this other field here called legal holds. Now, this one, guys, is a relatively new kid on the block. We just introduced this functionality starting in version 3.15. For any of you in previous versions, you don't have this, you can't have it. It's optional from 3.15 moving forward. If you don't have it now and you'll want to have it, just take note. It'd be a good request to make when you choose to upgrade your product to the latest version. But here's the basic idea. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to grab this guy right here. Okay, and you'll see why in just a moment. So I've got 17 boxes here where this legal holds text field has got data in it. And I picked this one because I'm seeing a reference to three different holds for that box. Because you all know, right? For a given box or a file for that matter, you can put it on multiple holds. So if I go to the view page for that box, I'm going to scroll down a ways here to the legal holds control. There are those three holds. Okay. Now, if I scroll back up a little bit, if you're paying real close attention, you will notice here's the names of these holds, slated for archives, temporary, blah, 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 and compliance review. What's happening here, guys, and this is where we autofill this field for you. For each time you put a box on hold, we will take the name of the hold and we will throw it into this legal holds text box for you. And then if there's multiple holds, we will just continue to concatenate with a comma delimiter the names of the holds. Now, why are we doing this? We're doing this, guys, because it turns out although the searching functionality, I think most of you have discovered, is very robust within Gimmal Physical, there is this one scenario, and it's reflected in our example here by this legal holds control. And I'll go to the search page to show you this in a little more detail. There is one scenario when searching can be very convoluted and can be really tricky to execute. And here it is. The larger point is this, guys. Anytime, and apologies for speaking technical here for just a moment, but legal holds to boxes, it reflects what's known as a many-to-many relationship. And in a database, when you have a many-to-many relationship, there are all kinds of possibilities for searching. We reflect that. Here's the control on the search page. There's a couple drop downs here to use. You'll see the top one says include, exclude, and the bottom one says none or not null. I'll be right up front with you. This is not intuitive in the least, but there's reason behind that is that it can be very, very complex when you're choosing, okay, if I have multiple holds and I want to search by them, which ones do I search by? Which ones do I include? Which ones do I exclude? Do I want to use a Boolean operator known as an or a Boolean operator known as an and? It's very, very complex. In fact, it's like upper level math complicated. So you can certainly search for holds using this legal holds control. But what's a much easier way to do it, and this comes back to why we started putting in this legal holds text box. We now, because it is a text box, we can include that field up here in the quick search because, in case you didn't know, for the many-to-many controls, we cannot include them in the quick search. You have to go to the detailed page and do that really complex searching. Well, now what you can do, because we're auto-filling this field for you, you can do like I did there a minute ago. You can do it is not null, and I can just see boxes that are on any hold whatsoever. But let's say, hey, I just want the holds that are part of the Tim versus Alpha Corp, because now it's in a text field. I can just do this kind of thing. I can now treat it like a text field and search just by that string alpha. It also supports all of the keywords, right? So rather than using that complex control, I can do this kind of thing, right? And I can string as many of those ors together. It just makes it much easier for you to search in that many-to-many relationship using that legal holds control. Now, although we've talked about a couple outliers already, there's still a couple more areas I want to get into here, guys, in terms of the legal holds functionality. I said early on that when it comes to you define your holds, you then associate them one or more, you associate them to file folders or boxes. It turns out, guys, there is one significant exception to that. And for that, I'm going to bring you over here to the record schedule tab. Let me go ahead and clear and start my search over. So nothing, magic here really. I've just got a record schedule tab in my demo land. I've got 28 different record schedules, kind of standard stuff. Most of you have more than 28, but I want to focus your attention momentarily here on the disposition type. Generally speaking, the disposition, and you can use any words you want. I'm using the word destroy here, but I want to query in my example by, hey, Gimmal Physical, show me just the record schedules where the disposition type is transfer. And what this reflects in real life, guys, of course, is for those of you that have an archives, your corporate schedule sometimes will say, although it doesn't happen nearly as much as it used to, it's still many of them out there, where it will say after a certain period of time, We want to transfer this to the archives for historical permanent type reasons. All right. Here's how really what I want to encourage you to do. If you have record series like that, in the end, the text you put into disposition type really doesn't matter. You can do any words that you want, but what really does matter, let's go to the view page for this particular record schedule. So if I scroll down here to the legal holds control, notice what I've done here is that we have taken this record schedule and we've put it on a hold. Now, the hold, I called it something, I think, intuitive. I called it slated for archives. Why am I doing this, guys? Two really important things for you to take away here. The moment that you put a record schedule on hold, the moment you do that, it will then, for any, in my case, it's not a lot, there's only three, but there's three boxes, and there happens to also be one file folder that are directly related to this hold. The moment you put the schedule on hold, each of these guys will inherit the hold. So not only will the existing inventory that's associated inherit the hold, but day forward, any new boxes that you associate to this schedule will automatically inherit the hold right at point of creation. Now, I'm going to click on one of these boxes so we can go back to the view page for that particular box. So now when I scroll down and look at the holds control at the box level, notice he is on that same hold. Now, it turns out this is not because I put the hold directly on the box, but rather I put it on the schedule, and we took that information that was applied at the schedule level and auto enforced it down here at the box level. Same thing would be true, guys, for any files that were directly related. Now, what you should also know, and again, this just falls under the paradigm that we adopted, that we never auto remove a hold. That's the easiest way to sum it up. In this particular example, what we're talking about here is even, okay, after a while, and you say, you know what? I don't need that particular record schedule on hold. If you go and then remove the hold from the schedule, we do not remove the holds from the boxes nor from any files that are directly related. Rather, we do make you do the two-step. If that scenario arises for you, you would first have to come to the order is not super important, but probably what you ought to do, come to the boxes first, do a bulk update and remove the hold at the boxes level, and then go back to the schedule and remove it there. You can do it either way, but the larger point is this, guys. We never auto remove holds. We've taken the approach that for these sort of outlier scenarios, where we're going to auto apply holds for you. Once we've auto applied them, we leave them there. Only you can remove them kind of in a manual fashion, if you will. Now, as I said up front, guys, we're open to ideas you have here. Some of you on this call probably were a part of what was known as our disposition committee that we held last year. We hope to have more of those committees. In fact, we're planning on more of those committees. We might have one focused just on legal holds functionality. And if you want to be a part of that committee, we'd love to have you. Please let Marcia know. She can facilitate all that. We don't have it scheduled yet, but I think it will be upcoming in 2026. So we're open to ideas you have how to make the holds functionality work better for you. But I want you to be aware of how it works now. Now, a couple more things I want to mention here. I'm looking at my cheat sheet here, guys, to make sure I haven't missed anything that I want to call out concerning holds. Yep, covered all that. Yeah. Oh, one other thing I should call out in the same vein as what I just mentioned a moment ago. I said if you remove the hold from the schedule, the boxes still retain the hold. That is true. It's also the case that if you take one of these boxes that was associated to the schedule that was on hold and you change the schedule, if you point it to a new schedule that's not on hold, we do not remove the hold in that case either. We auto applied it. But even though you change the schedule, we're not going to auto remove it. The same basic paradigm remains. We don't auto remove hold information. We're just playing it safe to make sure that things don't get destroyed when they ought not to. Now, I wanted to mention here real quick, guys, we're going to have a couple minutes left for questions, hopefully, that we'll address. But a couple of things that are on the tentative roadmap for us in case any of this is coming to your head here. Right now, we are aware that our out-of-the-box reporting over on the reports page, it's not so good when it comes to legal holds reporting. So we have on the roadmap to kind of beef that up to create new reports that are specific to legal holds functionality. So please be aware of that. We also have as an idea submitted by one of you, actually, I forget who it was, or maybe multiple of you. Some of you know that we have a kind of a email reminder functionality for overdue items or for end of life disposition. We're hoping to now include that also for a reminder about holds, right? So once a hold has been created, after a certain period of time, remind the person who created it, do you still want this hold? Trying to help you clean these holds up as necessary. And then one other sort of big topic, guys, just like right now, when you apply a hold to a schedule, it's auto applied to the records pointing back to that. We also have as tentative additions to the software the same basic idea. For those of you in the life sciences pharmaceutical world, same basic idea. If you put a product on hold, any records pointing to that product would inherit the hold. As it is right now, you first got to go to the records, do a bulk update. So you get the end result is the same, but we're trying to make that a little nicer for you. And for those of you in the legal sector, same basic idea with clients and matters. If you put a client on hold, then all the records pointing back to that particular client would also be on hold. All right, with that, guys, I'm showing just a couple minutes left, so I'm going to kick it back over here to Marcia to facilitate some question and answer.
Thank you, Tim. Great job. Great job as always. Tim, there is some, I know you have the Q&A up. Mike just submitted a question. It's kind of long, so I'll read it while you're reading it so everybody else can see this. What's the benefit of applying a hold at the record series level if you can't remove it for all affected boxes, files, etc. once the hold is released for that record series?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mike. The real value there is when you put it at the whole at the record schedule level, new boxes day forward automatically inherit that hold. So yes, totally get what you're saying there. Yeah, because you have to go back and manually remove from the boxes. That's kind of a bummer. Understood. So the real value is that you're automatically getting holds on new items that are associated to that particular schedule.
Great, thanks, Tim. And a couple questions that were pre-submitted when people registered. The first is, what happens if a hold is applied after a record is already in a disposition batch?
Yeah, it stops dead in its tracks. I may not have forgotten to mention this in the presentation here, guys, but even if it's made it all the way through and it's like the day the shredding truck is showing up, right? And you want to click that last button in our disposition module that says execute what we call stage three. If you've put it on hold, it will not be deleted. It just stays right there. FYI, related to that, it remains in the batch. And if you've had approvals or rejections, all that stuff hangs around so that when you create a new batch after the fact and it gets put into a new batch, which is now a toggle in the functionality there, all that stuff carries forward, but that hold goes with it. It's not until you actually remove the hold specifically that it has any hope of being deleted.
Okay, thanks, Tim. And the second one, and a reminder, if anybody has questions, you can still submit them in the Q&A. But the second question, Tim, is can holds be imported?
Yeah, guys. So the hold tab, like all of the tabs in the application, it operates exactly the same way. All of the features native to a data tab include holds. That means importing data in, that means exporting data out, that means running ad hoc reports, that means searching by any of the data elements. It acts like all of our what we call logical tabs. So record schedules and legal holds and clients and matters and products, anything that's not a reflection of a physical reality.
Okay, great. I think that's all the questions today, Tim.
All
Thank you
right.
for doing that. One final poll I'm going to launch for everybody still on the call. We'd love to hear if you have any input for next year's session. So we gave you some options here. If you have other ideas, you can always reach out to me as well. And then next on the schedule for Gimmal Physical, Tim's going to be reviewing tab filters. That takes place on December 11th. A reminder registration email will go out a week before if you have not registered, or you can feel free to visit our events page. But that's all we have for everybody today. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll get the recording over to you and we'll hopefully see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.